What's going on, guys? ¿Cómo están? Welcome back to another World Cup preview. Today we have Sam Tighe, a good friend of mine. I don't know how can I explain when we met, but I mean, it's been a good relationship so far. I look at him like if he was my mentor, I guess, or something like that. And he's gonna be like, I'm no like pedigree. I have no experience to be a mentor, but anyhow. So here we have Sam Tighe. ¿Cómo estás?
Oh, mate, I'm very well, thank you. And thank you for having me on. Very kind words. We met because I put out an SOS signal for a redesign for the Ranks FC podcast. And you were you wanted to help
on Patreon,
out.
I remember.
You did
yeah,
and you did an amazing job. So thank you again for that. And we've kept in touch ever since. Not really a mentor because I can't do any graphic design. And that is one of your specialties. So I don't know what I've actually helped you with, but it definitely isn't that.
Well, anyhow, we have here also as well Diego Montalban. Diego, ¿cómo estás?
What's going on, mi gente? Glad to be back. Glad to be able to talk to Sam about England because I think they're very important in the coverage of the World Cup as well, especially here in the U.S., all over the world. So this is just one out of the 32 teams. So let's get right into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just want to say before you start, Diego, with the questions, I just gotta say, Sam, I think for the engine room, we take Ranks FC as an inspiration. And I got to say, I listen to it every week and I have never really heard you talk about England. So this is going to be a first for me. I don't know your opinions about it. So
yeah, I guess you're right. I try to avoid the subjects, Lewis.
Yeah.
Listen,
so let's hear it.
Let's just get right into it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I've told everyone the same thing. Congratulations, you made it to the World Cup. It's a big deal, right? Now, England going into their 16th World Cup tournament. They won in 1966. What's so different about this time and the other times they made it to the World Cup?
I mean, I'm struggling to get my head around this because, naturally we want to be optimistic, but I am not. I'm English, so I'm very pessimistic. The last time we went to the World Cup, we were not very good, but we made it to the semi-final. This time, we're going to the World Cup. I don't think we're very good. So maybe we'll be fine, because I didn't think we were very good at the Euros either, and we made the final of the Euros and only lost it on penalties. So maybe this natural pessimism is a healthy thing. But ultimately, obviously we're a better team than we were 4.5 years ago. Obviously. It's amazing, really, how that hasn't really manufactured into any kind of optimism. The joke in England is, well, we got to a semi-final, then we got to a final at the Euros, so obviously we're going to win it. That's the joke. But everyone in deep down is going, yeah, no, we're not doing very well here. And the problem with this is if you get to the semi-final and then you get to the final of the Euro, so basically we've played the maximum number of games at the last two tournaments. We've gone all the way through because obviously the World Cup, we played for the third place playoff as well. If you get to that point, it hurts when you don't win it. So the next step is, well, we have to go and win it. And it's created this situation where fairly or unfairly, if we don't win the tournament, we're going to be absolutely gutted, and we're going to feel like we've underachieved. Just because the last 4 years, we've been very good at playing at tournaments. We've been very good at grinding through and winning games. So it's a bit of a strange thing to size up. I want to be optimistic. I know that we can do it, but it's just difficult. It's difficult, really, to see us going that one step further, given how strong some of the other teams are and given the problems that we've been facing over the last year or so.
Mm-hmm. I think that most of the media, let's say football fans consume nowadays, come from England, and we can tell you personally as, let's say, viewers, that we know that perhaps the rhetoric, the narrative surrounding Southgate is not the best. So what is it precisely that you hear between your circles? What is your opinion on Southgate, and what are people saying coming into this World Cup? You said that perhaps this pessimistic attitude helps. Maybe it can. And yeah, what's a perspective coming into this? Different. What's the air surrounding perhaps the manager, the squad?
I'm much higher on Gareth Southgate than a lot of English people, and I find myself going into bat for him quite a lot of the time. I defend him quite a lot of the time. Not because I think he's amazing. I just don't think he's anywhere near as bad as a lot of people try to make him out to be. But there is genuine reason for the pessimism. There is a reason why people are a little bit low on him and a little bit low on England. And like, our results have not been very good following the Euros final. We definitely had a massive hangover following that final and that failure to get over the line on penalties. And it's manifested in, like, we haven't won any of our last 6 games. And we lost 4-0 to Hungary in what was like a very, very bad night. I must admit, I missed most of these games because I couldn't bring myself to watch England after we lost the final for like 5 months. Like, it took me a very long time to be willing to take the TV remote and put England on and watch them, because I just got all these horrifying flashbacks of the Saka penalty, and it was just, to be honest, like that night as well. Like that night, the final penalty was missed. I walked straight up to my bedroom and just got into bed and didn't say a word to anybody for like 2 days. I did get out of bed, to be clear. I just didn't say any words. I really, emotionally, I really struggled with it. So I can't imagine how difficult that would have been for the players then to have to, put that shirt back on, step back onto the pitch. And we did win, our next few games, but it was against like Albania and San Marino. As soon as it got remotely difficult, we found it very, very difficult to play properly. And Southgate tried to refresh the squad a little bit, bring in like Jared Bowen, bring in like Fikayo Tomori. Nothing really stuck. And ultimately that's led us back to more or less the same team as the Euros. Only this time around, quite a serious amount of them are either in really bad form or are kind of injured. So, the true reason for pessimism is we haven't won any of our last 6 games. We feel worse than we were, and we couldn't do it last time. The opposition has only got stronger. Brazil and Argentina are better than Italy, and we couldn't even get past Italy. They're a very good team. And we got no Reece James. Harry Maguire's been awful. Kyle Walker hasn't played for 6 weeks. Our 2021 Player of the Year for England was Calvin Phillips. He's played 1 minute of Premier League football this season. Raheem Sterling's been really quite poor for Chelsea. Like, the list goes on. Like, the guys that Southgate will turn to, he will trust, they're not playing well for the most part. And that does make you feel very nervous, right? Like, I don't want to watch Harry Maguire at the World Cup, because every time I watch him for United, he's terrible. So, like, why is it going to change for England? And, of course, in September, he gave away a penalty against Germany. He looks very heavy-footed. He just doesn't look confident. That's why we are so nervous about this, because we know that these guys are going to be trusted by Southgate. He's going to put them back in. But we're just petrified that, what we're seeing for club level is going to carry on for country.
That's fair. I mean, yeah, definitely a lot to dissect and think about. Now, the 3 Lions they're in Group B alongside Iran, USA, and Wales. How do you feel about that group, and what do you think are the chances of making it out of that group, if you had to grade it 1 through 10?
Yeah, I mean, I feel good about the group. I don't think I would feel good about the group if I was a neutral, because I think it might be a bit boring to watch at points. I think there's a fair few teams here who are going to either struggle to score too many goals, or they're probably going to keep it quite cagey. Like, our first game up is Iran, and like, obviously we should beat Iran, but like, that will not be a pleasant watch. We should crack the wall eventually, but like, it will be hard. I think the USA game will be a lot of fun for Ranks FC, because so many of our listeners are from the US, and it will be a nice little like civil war. And the Wales game for England is always, it has an increased importance because of the British connection. Games against Wales and Scotland are very hard fought. Wales and Scotland take them very seriously, because England have been the dominant force in that partnership for a long time. So that will be harder than it suggests, that on paper it will suggest it will be. So it is a pretty tough group. But I do think we'll win it, like, with the strongest team on paper. And I know that doesn't necessarily work out like that, but you have to look at that start, like, first and foremost, like, who's the strongest team on paper? It's England. Okay, so what other factors could trip England up? Are there any teams out there that are perfectly poised to really hurt them? I don't necessarily see that with Iran. I don't really see it with the USA, to be honest with you, because I do think that around the edges, that team is probably too weak to cope with us. I know that the US have lots of issues at striker, goal-scoring issues. I know that they have issues at centre-back, which they may fix with Tim Ream, but it's a bit late. And I'm not so sure that that's going to hold up. Wales might be difficult, genuinely might be difficult. I'm not walking around saying 9 points, 9 points, 9 points. You know, I'm not doing that. But it could be 7, and 7 will win you the group. So in terms of like an out of 10, like I feel very comfortable with it. And I'd probably give it about an 8 out of 10 in terms of like security and comfort and chances to progress in the way that we want to win the group.
Mm-hmm. So normally we come here and ask, let's say the interviewee, we say, oh, what's going to be the most difficult match you might find? But maybe by even the last game against Wales, which, like you say, could be the most difficult one, you might be already through. So I kind of wanted to ask you, because whenever I do like a prediction, a simulation of the World Cup, I always do see England pairing up later in the round of 16, either a Senegal, a Netherlands. And I generally think that game, similar to Russia in 2018, I think your most important victory was the one against Colombia. And and I think that now it could be the very same story in the in the round of 16. So do you think how do you feel confident about the rivals that you may face at that stage?
So I mean, I think the most important game is the first game, because if you win the first game in the World Cup setting, doesn't matter who you are, it can get you on a roll, right? You know that momentum. It's a very closed off circuit of a tournament. It's a unique atmosphere, and if you win your first game, you're basically out of the group already. You don't need to go into that second game searching for a win. You can feel confident. If you can win to 0, like it sets you up so well, and I think we probably will win the first game to 0, probably like 1-0 or something. So I think the first game is always the most important, no matter who it's against. I really obviously hope that we win the group. I would then much prefer to play Senegal or Ecuador, basically not the Dutch. But if we have to play the Dutch, we have to play the Dutch. Like we've lived a charmed life, England, over the last 4 years. In the World Cup in Russia, we managed to dodge a lot of big guns. You know, Colombia, Sweden, and then finally got to Croatia and got knocked out. Get to the Euros, and you know, we're playing against like Germany, who were not very good, and then we've got Ukraine, who we beat 4-0 and stuff like that. It's like, at some point, we are going to have to play a good team, right? We've managed to avoid it for ages, but at some point, we're going to have to play a good team. So if it's the Dutch, it's the Dutch, whatever. But it's still better than playing Argentina, which which wouldn't come into play until later, or Brazil, or someone of that ilk.
Mm-hmm.
Now you spoke about some of the the ties that they had, right? The ties and the results that they had early on. So it seems like it's been like a roller coaster, because you've had some good, decent wins, but other very questionable losses or ties. How worrying is that to you?
I feel very safe in the confines of Group B. I want to win the group, and then I don't want to have to play any more games, because as soon as we have to play someone that is like genuinely very good, or has like a difference maker of a number 9, or has a lot of momentum, I'm starting to worry. I really am. I mean, as you say, like it's been a roller coaster. It has, but it's been mostly downs recently. So I'm still waiting to find that next rise up the hill. It's been a bit depressing, but I'm kind of at the point where like I don't really have that much faith in this England team to keep their mettle and to keep their bottle when it matters against the very best here. Group play, fine, whatever. Senegal, Ecuador, that should be okay. As soon as we start to touch those other top 8 teams, I'm worried. Like, I'm worried about where we are mentally. I'm worried about our the fragility of our team. I'm worried about like scars and shadows from the Euros. And I'm sure that they are like if they were all rolling into this World Cup and they were in peak form for their club, I wouldn't be as worried about it. But like, I'm absolutely convinced that I'm going to see Harry Maguire tripping over on the halfway line trying to change the striker like pretty soon. Like, because it's really hard to believe that they have the requisite amount of faith in themselves here to go out and do this, because I don't see why they would. I just don't. Not based on results, not based on club form, not based on the disruptions in the team because of injuries.
Yeah. So I'm going to play devil's advocate here. And the other day I was in a party and, we were talking already about the World Cup. It's very soon. And you know what? I think it's the take of like outside viewers, neutrals on England. I'll tell you, here in Peru, from the people I've met, you're going to laugh at this, but the comparison is England to Real Madrid, because no matter what happened, they get their results done. That's what they think. They think they're pragmatic. They think they grab the results, they score the goals. That's what I heard. And I was like, what? Are you kidding? So be a little bit hopeful, because that's what people perceive. They see a team that, you know what, they got the amazing players. They're going to pull something out of nowhere. They're going to score a goal. First, what do you think that's even a thing? Or the other question I wanted to ask you is, what would you tell then other viewers perhaps that don't know England that well? So to these people, to this bunch of my friends, what would you tell them about your style of play, about what actually England want to do to win a game? Talking more tactically, right?
Well, I mean, look, they are correct in saying that we are good at winning games, because, in tournaments, we're good at tournament football. Like, we're good at the way we set up and like the cautious nature of the team. It's a reason why Gareth Southgate is so unpopular in England. But ultimately, tournament football is a grind, isn't it? It's not often about playing the best football. It's about not conceding and then scoring from a set piece. That more often than not will get you quite far in a World Cup or a tournament setting, and we're very good at that. We're a big team. We're a physical team. Like, the midfield is Declan Rice, who's 6 foot plus, Jude Bellingham, who's 6 foot plus. We've got 3 centre backs. We've got Harry Kane. There's 6 players on the pitch who are like 6'2" or taller, and they're all strong. They're all big. We've got Trippier and Trent to swing in set pieces. Like, we close the spaces between the lines. Yes, we only really ever attack with like 3 players, and it is a bit boring, but this is ultimately how you win tournaments. I think we've seen a lot of examples over the years of this being very successful, either getting to the final and winning it itself, or getting quite far. We've done 2 great runs based off this. France 2018, I know they battered Argentina and they put 4 past Croatia in the final, but I think a lot of the time they were quite stingy, and that game against Belgium was a set piece goal, 1-0. That was it. That's the stuff you need to run the margins, the fine margins of tournament football. So I think they're not that far off it. They just haven't been burdened with 32 years of disappointment like I have, where they don't achieve their goals. That you hope for so much and you expect so much, and so much is genuinely possible, but it never comes off. And to watch us go so close last year and fail, and to know that we're in a worse position mentally and from a fitness perspective, and just in terms of quality as well as a result, it's hard to believe. It's really hard to believe that we're going to go all the way. And the reality is, like, most people will say, well, look, England, you got to the quarterfinal. Like, that's good. Top 8. It's like, yeah, top 8. Great. But we just came so close to winning a tournament. It's like anything but winning is upsetting. We were really happy with 4th in the last World Cup. We won't be happy with 4th this time. The goalposts have moved, We've changed our aspirations based on the recent, I say success, I put it in commas because we haven't won anything, but we've been good. We've been effective, and now it's time to take it a step on. Otherwise it's just going to be like, oh, never mind. So that's the difficulty. You get worn down by that. You hope and you pray, but it's hard. It's hard. Objectively, it's hard.
Trust me, like me and Diego seeing Peru qualify in 2018, and now like losing on penalties to Australia that weren't even playing that day. It was devastating.
I felt like Sam. I couldn't talk to no one for 2 days.
Yeah, somewhere between you two and Luis Miguel Echegaray, I was very sad for you guys. I really like Peru. Like, they were so much fun at the last World Cup. I developed a real affinity for Luis Advincula, who doesn't seem to be like that good, but he was really good at the World Cup. And, I had a massive shame.
Do you know the Old Spice commercials? The ones that the weird Old Spice commercials I put on TV? Yeah, he does the Old Spice commercials in Peru.
In Peru, yeah.
I like him even more now.
So Sam, if you had to play Gareth Southgate right now today, you were the coach, what would be your 11 to start off the tournament?
Yeah, I hate these questions because
back three,
everybody.
Back four.
I don't know. I don't like. So like one thing I don't like is like this is why I end up going into bat for Southgate so much is that like I don't like it when someone goes like an England fan because we have so many different options, right? It's really hard to pick. I don't like it when people are like, okay, here's the answer. I fixed it. And I'm like, no, you haven't. Like the squad that we have and like the different attacking profiles that we have means that you can change your attacking look for depending on the opposition, which is a really powerful thing to have. Like most nations just have 3 attackers that are very good or quite good, and they just run them. And it's like, no matter who the opposition is, these are the guys. We have at any one time like Bukayo Saka, Phil Foden, and Jack Grealish on the bench because Mason Mount and Raheem Sterling are playing instead. It's incredible luxury to have. And it means that you can't really have just like, this is my 11. You have to mix and match. And so like for Iran, you know, I don't think there's going to be a lot of space on that pitch for us to operate in against Iran. I think they're going to close the space between the lines really fine. They're going to battle. They're going to make it really hard. So I would put the emphasis on players who are really good in tight spaces. So I would play Saka and maybe Foden as well. And maybe just, you know, that means Sterling and Mount don't come in. Or Mount can play with Saka and we can try Foden a bit later. But then against the USA, like Mason Mount should start because he's so tactically switched on and so good at pressing, so good defensively. And the US will try to play out against us because that's their style. So we need players that can pounce on the lanes. And then if we end up playing against, you know, the Dutch and there's some space, then stick Grealish on and let him run with the ball for 70 yards. Like this, you have to be malleable with this stuff. But and that the same applies to the back 3, back 4. Like why would we need? I don't think we would need a back 5 against Iran, but you know it won't be like that. The wing backs will be pushed all the way up. How many players do you need to leave on the halfway line against Iran? 2 or 3? Maybe 2. I don't know. It depends how fit Kyle Walker is. So that's kind of where you draw the lines there. That's the England team has to be like, it has to look different for every opponent. But where Gareth Southgate and I disagree is on centre-backs, big time. And my team would have had Fikayo Tomori in it. Back 3 or back 4, Tomori would have been in it. And he's not in the squad at all. Like he's just, Southgate doesn't like him. It's not that he's been ignored. Tomori has been called up a couple of times this year. He's played a couple of games. He's been in the camps. Southgate is a former defender and has looked at him in training multiple times and gone, nah. And I have to respect that. I have to respect that. But he's still going with Maguire instead. So maybe I don't have to respect it at all. So my back 3 would be Tomori, Stones, and Walker. But obviously Tomori's not going to be there, so it'll be somebody else. But I think Southgate and I roughly agree on, Trippier and Luke Shaw. We agree on Rice and Bellingham. It would have been Phillips, but he's not fit enough really. And then we agree with Kane plus 2 others. So my team wouldn't look that different. I just probably wouldn't be pursuing with Harry Maguire here, given he's had such a difficult year and particularly such a difficult couple of months. I find that really, really hard to trust.
Yeah. I feel like mentally he's just gone through a lot.
100%. I mean, I think, I've said it on ranks before, but I think Man United were downright negligent with him at the end of last season. It was going really, really badly. It was getting worse with every week, and they kept playing him. Like, why do you keep playing this guy? Like, just give him a month out of the team. Like, it's literally a case of mental health at this point. And he hasn't really been given that much of a break. He's basically been dropped now, but he looks so slow and so unfit now because he's not playing every week. Big guys like that, if they don't play every week, they can start to look really unfit really fast. It's the same with big strikers. Right. if they're not playing every week, their turning circle is horrendous, and they start to look very choppy around the edges. And he's the same thing. So I'm worried. I am worried about him, and I'm surprised that Southgate has decided, yeah, no, he'll be fine. You'll be a key player for me. It'll be fine. Everything will be fine when you get back in that England shirt. Will it? I don't know. Hopefully.
Yeah. So we did mention, we talked a little bit, I think, on Discord about your players who are surprised like Gallagher, or maybe is there any other that you think should have made the cut, or someone you would have taken out? I for instance really like Ben White being there. I think he had he's having an amazing season for Arsenal. I don't know who you pick.
Yeah, I was very surprised that Tammy Abraham didn't make it. I know that he hasn't had a particularly good season so far with Roma, but I'm surprised that he didn't make it, because I felt like he profiled in certain ways very similarly to Harry Kane. And so given that the foundation of the team, one of like the three main pillars is that we have Kane up front and everyone operates off him and around him, I figured that if Harry Kane got injured in the first game, you might want a forward that can fulfill a lot of those responsibilities. And we actually don't have another one of those except for Tammy Abraham, and he wasn't picked. Now, I'm not saying pick all of the same type of forward. That's silly. But we took 4 or 5. Should one of them not have been a stylistic replica of Harry Kane? I think the answer to that is yes. So I'm surprised that Tammy didn't go. Again, not a good season this season, massively underperforming XG, missing huge chances, but had a wicked season last season. Wicked season, and he's really good. So that would be the one I would say. No real complaints about most of it. Like, people going mad about Conor Gallagher. Who cares? Like, I don't care about Conor Gallagher. Like, he's a 5th central midfielder. We only play with 2. Like, Jordan Henderson will be lucky to get more than 10 minutes a game. Calvin Phillips will probably get 20. Conor Gallagher probably won't play at all. So I do find that, like, with World Cup squads and with international squads, like, there is a lot of wasted energy going around. A lot of people getting worked up about stuff that there are other things to worry about. And I think 5th choice central midfielder is definitely one of those things, like with a 3rd choice goalkeeper, where I'm just like, I don't care. Like, I just couldn't, I could not care less.
They're not going to see any game time.
No, not at all. Not at all. People complaining about that stuff, I do find a bit odd, but it's okay. I noticed that the Dutch, by the way, Louis van Gaal has taken a 38-year-old 6'8" goalkeeper as his 3rd goalkeeper. Yeah, who's just basically there for penalties, isn't he? I was like, do something like that. That's good fun.
Wingspan is just gonna.
Yeah. That's good fun. The last spot in each position for the squad should for everyone should be like someone completely random, someone completely different, like that. I love that. Absolutely love it.
Like a midfielder who could play goalkeeper if it needs to be.
Imagine that.
So fan votes. We should do it. Go down to fan votes.
Yeah. Fan votes. Oh my god, that wouldn't go well. Not for England anyway.
Well, Sam, I want to thank you for your time. I think it's been a pleasure to talk about England and get your knowledge on it. I really, really liked what you said about when I asked you about picking an 11 and how you explained that England can change into these different types of teams against different types of teams. And that's very good to know, because I don't think a lot of people see football that way, and they don't realize that football nowadays, you have to be able to change to whatever is needed on the pitch at certain moments. So thank you for that. Buga, I don't know if you got anything else to add.
Nothing. I just want to say thank you. And before leaving, I wanted to ask you about what's your take on, you said wasted energy. Do you think the whole James Maddison thing is wasted energy?
A bit. Yeah, a bit. I don't like to say it, because obviously a lot of people I know went mad for about a week on this. But I do think it's a bit of a waste of energy. Yeah, I mean, let's put it this way: I'm glad he's in the squad, because he's an X Factor player. But Gareth Southgate has used James Maddison for a total of 0 minutes for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Now it's the World Cup. It is the most pivotal month of his England managerial career. These are the 3 to 7 most pivotal games in his managerial career, Gareth Southgate is going to choose to rely on the players that he trusts. And given that Maddison didn't make a squad for how many years, he is not one of the guys that Gareth Southgate trusts. So if James Maddison gets off the bench 3 times and plays more than 60 minutes, I will be pleasantly surprised. So, not going to get too wound up about that. It's just not much of an impact, is it? That's the way. I mean, I might be wrong. He might start the first game, might score a free kick. I don't know. Who knows? But given that Gareth Southgate really hasn't bothered with him up until now, what makes you think that when the pressure is at its highest, he's going to turn to a guy who he's never trusted before in his entire managerial career? I struggle to see it. So I'm pleased for him to be on the plane. But, all of this campaigning is for, I presume, very little.
Fully agree.
Yeah.
Fully agree. People get wound up about some dumb things, I guess you could say. Well, again,
it's not like if you're a Leicester fan. If you're a Leicester fan, like you want to see your player, go to the World Cup. Like
100%.
Absolutely, I get it. A lot of people that like my friends though that support all sorts of different clubs. They're like, we've got to get Maddison on the plane. I was like, okay, fine, but does he play? Probably not. No. Okay, well then shut up. Yeah,
that's great.
Again, Sam, thank you for your time. I want to, if you can let the people know where they can find your stuff and all the coverage that you're going to be doing.
Yeah, so the Ranks FC podcast, just search Ranks FC. I'm sure you've seen. If you've seen me, then I'm sure you've seen it. We'll be doing daily drops on our Patreon feed. We'll be doing a free episode every week. I'll be tweeting loads. It's going to be a busy month, isn't it? I mean, 4 games a day. I don't know how you guys are feeling about this, but I am a little bit nervous.
We start 5 a.m.
It's crazy right now.
That's good. I like it.
Guys. Look, I'm at work right now. I'm in the studio, and it's crazy right now. We're working a lot, so yeah.
5 a.m. Jesus.
Do you think that's better or worse? I like it better.
Well, it works out great for us. The first one's at 10 a.m. and the last one kicks off at 7 p.m. So it's like working like a long
full
normal day.
Oh,
But I'm pretty pleased about that. My sleeping pattern for the Brazil World Cup was tragic. So I'm pretty pleased. But I'm not a morning person, Lewis, so I wouldn't like the 5 a.m. starts. No way.
No, I like it because at the end, by 5, I'm gonna be finished, so I can get going on the things we were talking about before the.
Yeah, sure. I would just go to sleep at 5 p.m. though. That would be it. I'd be done.
Well,
I'd be done.
Yeah.
There you go. Anyway,
well,
absolute
thank you
pleasure,
once again,
guys.
Sam. Thank you to everyone that's been watching. The Engine Room. We have 31 more episodes for you on each nation during the World Cup. So thank you. Please comment, like, subscribe.
Take care. Ciao, ciao.